concrete price because they're having trouble with the whole vacuum hose situation, and they're having trouble giving us a solid number because the man hours involved and pulling it, and it's getting difficult for them just to narrow that down. So as soon as they get done with the vacuum hose portion of it, or I'm sorry, the hydraulic hose portion of it, they'll be able to get us a number. So we're still waiting on them. The asphalt zipper, I have a known and we're still pricing, and we are still pricing some. However, when we were there looking around, turning our packets in, the city secretary and Councilman Neeson were discussing some other items, and I was voicing my frustration, and what you have there is the result of their searches as well. So I'd like to thank Councilman and the city secretary for helping me with some of that pricing. Some of them are further away than we'd like, but we're reaching out to them to see if we might be able to do something with delivery and maybe knock that price down a little bit. I will say that I put some of my information out there to see if I could get some pricing back for delivery, and my phone has been going off nonstop. So everybody's wanting to bid on delivering the equipment for us. So, and lastly, we're looking for a dump truck attachment to connect to our paver so that we're not having to run that loader back and forth, and that paver can push that dump truck, and we can run and pave more road without having to stop so much. We're currently working with 1 or 2 sales reps and looking online, and they're hard to come by, but they do exist, so we're hoping to get a good number here shortly.
Do you have a price of the new one? Did you
No.
figure out a price of the new one?
No, sir, we have not. The sales rep, again, that we reached out to, they know that they've sold them before. They just haven't gotten a price to us yet. As far as the large motor grader, we haven't gotten any viable options for that yet. We know that we got 2 bids back. We're working with trade for some equipment, and I feel like we're losing on both those deals. You know, one option gives us maybe $68,000 for that piece of equipment. Another one gives us maybe, and I might be high-ending it, $90 for that piece of equipment, when that piece of equipment is worth about $170, $180. So what we may have to do is we may just have to hold on to it, and should we decide to move forward selling it, just sell it ourselves to the highest bidder, if that's still on.
Can we find a broker to sell it for us?
And that is a possibility we could.
Then we'll start moving on that, see if we get with that machine ain't broker, like what we looked at.
Yes, sir. That is an option.
Madam Mayor, Mr. Velasquez, I just want to thank you for all the hard work you're doing. I've gotten very positive feedback from citizens of Floresville that the workers are doing a very good job, and so are you. So thank you.
Well, thank you, ma'am. I'll make sure to share that with you guys.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Velasquez? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on to new business, item 3A, consideration and action to retain Floresville City attorneys or attorney for the fiscal year 2017-2018. Councilman Johns?
Yes, been checking prices, and with over the past 3 years, we spent about $700,000 on lawyers, and over the last since 2015. But you know, looking at different prices of lawyers, the Ditton to borrow, we now Roach that firm seems to be more involved in city law, and plus they have a few cheaper options, especially on our municipal courts, as far as Rosenberg charging $2,000 a day for representing Floresville on different cases. The other firm can do it for an hourly rate, which will savings there. We're also looking to be able to use the lawyers a little bit less on to start saving money on this, because I figure it's a pretty big loss each year for what we're paying for attorney fees. And just kind of checking prices and going, looking at what we have. That's why I'd like council to consider this move from.
Joanne?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Any other comments?
Yes. How many pending lawsuits do we have right now?
I believe outstanding right now, we have 2 with TML that are handling through TML. We don't have any active in-house lawsuits at the moment. Technically, well, I guess technically there is a 3rd one that still hasn't been dismissed. The former councilman lawsuit is still out there, but there's been no activity on that in years.
Any other comments from the council?
If you do any research, and what's usually most cities go average holding attorneys 2 to 5 years, 3 years.
Not in a city our size, it seems like 700,000.
No, I mean average.
How long they use the same firm?
Didn't really check into. I know for years we
It's 3 to 5 years.
used
How long has your firm been the city attorney?
I believe '09 is when the firm came on after the Killings, and then before that, Mr. Berkshire forever.
I remember.
So are we currently, we don't have a contract with Rosenberg?
Correct. It's just by approval of the council. That's the way it's always been on there. There's no firm contract. We do have a proposal. It's up to the council whether you all want to consider it or not.
Okay. We do have a representative from Lou Rosenberg's firm as well as from Denton Navarro here, if there's any questions. Yes, if your firm would like to address the handout, I will leave that up to you.
Okay, so what that handout is, we're a local firm, kind of, staff needs to pick up the phone and give us a call, council needs to pick up the phone and give us a call. Unfortunately, with a time increment billing system, that can mean, a rather large attorney's rates on there. So what this is a flat fee proposal for general counsel matters at $13,000 a month, which comes up to $156,000 a year. That would encompass all of those general counsel subcategories that are on there. And I have the proposed budget, or the adopted budget numbers behind it as well. So I think that comes out to be a savings of $49,000 for the city for this upcoming year, and as a flat fee, so it wouldn't go in excess of what that is for those categories.
I know that your firm has been vital to the city of Floresville for the last 7 years, 8 years, something like that. But I do, well, I tell you what, we have Charlie Zek here from Denton Navarro. If he would come to the podium, I'll let him also have a few minutes to speak of their firm and what they could do for the city of Floresville.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity, council. I think most of you know me not only from my current special counsel work for the city, but through the years in our law firm that has been in existence since 1990. For the benefit of y'all, I didn't come with any prepared statements, but for the benefit of y'all and for the benefit of the public, Denton Navarro's been in existence since 1990. Both Denton, when he was city attorney for the city of San Antonio, figured out pretty quickly he wasn't satisfied with the quality of legal services he was receiving from outside counsel, nor was he satisfied with the cost of the services that he was being charged. And so as a result of that, he founded this firm in 1990. We are dedicated to the practice of local government law. That is all that we do, is represent local governments We currently represent by contract as city attorney 30 cities in the state of Texas. The largest being, I don't know which is larger, Harlingen or Pflugerville. I think they're both near 60,000. The smallest being the city of St. Hedwig, which is, I think, around 400. We have 3 offices, one in San Antonio, one in Harlingen, and one in Austin. We have 21 lawyers that work for the firm, all of them with varying degrees of experience and knowledge in municipal law. For example, in the San Antonio office, Dan Santee was in-house city attorney for the city of Abilene for 18 years and has over 22 years of experience in municipal law. Habib Khan has over 25 years of experience in municipal law. I myself have over, oh my goodness, 17 or 18 years of experience, I think, in municipal law. 16, I think, is the number. Anyway, it's all that we do. I can say, without a doubt, with one exception, we have always saved the city's money where we go in to provide them legal services. The main reason for that is that we do this so much and so often and for so long. We usually know the answers to your questions because they're usually pretty, quite honestly, routine, to the extent that we handle them on a regular basis, which means we answer them faster. We bill on the 10th of an hour, which means for every 6 minutes. Oftentimes you won't see a charge on your phone, on your bill for a 1-minute phone call or a 2-minute phone call or responding really quickly to an email because, quite honestly, we understand where the funds come from to pay our law firm. They come from tax dollars. And whatever budget you set, we will meet that. What we do is we take the budget that you give for your legal services and we put it on our processes sheet, on our billing sheet, and we track it over the life of the fiscal year. And obviously it's impossible to fully and completely, account for legal services because you never know what's going to happen. Something could pop up that is an outlier. But when those things happen, we get with staff and we figure out where it is that we can save and where it is that we can provide savings to the city. Quite honestly, I'm fairly familiar with the issues you have in your city, and quite honestly, the city of Schertz, which is over 30,000, I think that we've given them a legal bill over $13,000, maybe really 3 times in the last year. So I believe we can save you money, and I think that no offense, Chris is a great lawyer, and Lou's firm is a good firm, but I'm biased. I think we're the best local government law firm in the state, and I think that we can provide you excellent services at an excellent value.
Thank you. Any
Question. Proper name, I don't know. Our court attorney,
Municipal attorney? Yes, sir.
do you have
Municipal court?
a young attorney to be able to handle that part too?
Yes, sir. Janine Banks in our office. We have a couple of attorneys, several attorneys who could do it. My recommendation would be, at the outset, having Janine Banks come in, and I would also have Cynthia Trevino come in, who is an associate in the San Antonio office. And Janine Banks has been very successful in going into municipal courts and assisting in providing economies of scale and efficiencies to help lower costs. That's the first thing we always do in a municipal court, go in, not for the purposes of shaking things up, but just evaluating things. There's certain things that you can do in municipal court that make it, that provide efficiencies, standing orders, and things of that nature that can assist in making it less expensive for your prosecution services. Unfortunately for everybody, prosecution services is always going to be a loss to the city. It's never going to make up the cost. People have a right to a jury trial. You don't know when they're going to do that. But Janine has been very successful in doing that. So I would have Janine come in initially as one of our associates to look at, to do your prosecutions, and maybe Cynthia Trevino.
Is he a senior or is he just an associate?
Janine Banks is an associate, and Cynthia Trevino is an associate.
Any other questions for Mr. Zach?
I know in the meetings, as long as I can remember, we've always had an attorney. I think we enjoy the company of Chris. I think he's a very enjoyable guy, and we enjoy that. But Is that common for a city of our size? I know currently it's billable hours, if I'm not mistaken. Perhaps under a flat fee schedule it might not be, but I would like to know, a lot of us sitting up here and a lot of our citizens would like to know that we can run these meetings without the presence of an attorney.
Sure.
As that's our elected duty. However, I know there are some risks and some things do come up in certain meetings that's helpful.
Sure, absolutely. I have multiple examples of where we initially attended all the city council meetings of the client, and then after we attended some meetings, they got comfortable with how the rules are and how things work. We don't attend our meetings anymore, or we only attend one meeting a month. We have a couple of clients whereby they want, in case they need a lawyer there, what they do is they have 2 meetings a month, and we will make sure the agenda is completed in such a way that all legal issues are handled before the meeting, and if there's a need for attorney, they put all of those items on one agenda. The other option you have is that for certain things, outside counsel is one of the only outside contractor who can actually phone in to a city council meeting, and we do that with clients as well, where we phone in for executive sessions and things of that matter to save the client money associated with that. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Mr. Zek? Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, before I entertain a motion, do I have any citizens' comments? Okay, if no citizens' comments, I will entertain a motion, consideration action to retain Floresville City attorneys for the fiscal year of 2017, 2018.
I'd like to make a motion to retain Denton, Navarro, Canaro, Rocha, Zek, city attorneys.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Johns to retain the law firm of Denton, Navarro, Rocha, Burnell, and Zek for the fiscal year, the budget year 2017, 2018. Do I have a second?
Before I make a second, can I ask for an amendment on your motion?
Yes.
And then it'll be up to the council whether he wants to withdraw and remake the motion.
My amendment would be to ask, since we have 2 ongoing lawsuits and Lou Rosenthal's law firm knows about them, instead of reinventing the wheel, to keep Lou Rosenthal on the 2 pending lawsuits with the new attorney taking over.
Councilman, those are actually with TML, and I believe they're already with Denton Navarro through TML.
Okay, what about the Jim Miller?
That's outside counsel already with a previous law firm that's never been dismissed by this council. So there's no lawsuits that we are currently handling.
I'll retract my amendment.
So I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Johns. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Councilman Nissen. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. All those opposed?
Yes.
It passes 3-1. And by all means, to the law firm of Lou Rosenberg, we have appreciated all your hard work for all of these years. And I know we'll be seeing you because you are around the corner from us. But thank you for all that you have done and all the late nights that you have stuck out with us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Charlie's a great guy. Sorry. Charlie's a great guy. Hilton and the firm will take great care of y'all. Really.
And thank you for your confidence.
Thank you, Mr. Zek. All right, moving on to item 3B, and I saw that Mr. Duke is here. Consideration action to accept recommended cost of service rate and adjustment. We have the Floresville Electric Light and Power System General Manager Dwayne Duke, and in your booklet you will have some information, the information that he'll be discussing.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Thank you for this opportunity this evening. I'll be presenting 2 topics tonight. One is the cost of service, and the second is the rate adjustments. these two items are very tightly coupled, kind of hand in glove. So I was anticipating putting this on PowerPoint, so I'll try to talk through the slides that are in the book. So if you flip to the second page, this is the beginning of the second slide, I guess, not the second page. This is the first topic we're talking about, cost of service modeling. So if I could take you to slide number 3. Phelps periodically reviews our cost of service for each rate class to ensure that they are appropriate and no customer class, residential, small commercial, large commercial, is subsidizing another. This was last done in 2014, and we repeated that again this year using our consultant. When we do this, we look at the current year and 5 years into the future as best you can forecast. But because this is a forecast, there are certain assumptions that we make as part of that. And that, for example, how much capital investment are we expecting to make? What's our debt funding ratio? And which years do we anticipate issuing bonds? I also want to emphasize that this modeling is not an exact science, but it's very representative of customer groups as a whole. So any one individual customer, it may not apply perfectly to, but as a group, it does a very good job. So if you look at slide 4, these are the factors that go into this modeling effort. This is both on the revenue side and the expense side. And you can read the significant components that we've listed for each. As you can see, on the revenue side, it's more than just the revenue from the rates. There are things like the transmission revenue that we would get, late payments, pole attachments, etc. And on the expense side, it is the rate-funded expenses and their cash-funded expenses. And the cash-funded means that these are things that we funded from net income that we've generated from the year before. When we have no net income, that impacts how we being able to pay our bonds back, capital that we can invest in, probably most importantly to you guys, being able to make a transfer from Phelps to the city owners. So what does all this really mean? So if you look at slide 5, what I've listed here is an illustration of the work. So the items in these rows that are in black font are existing rate classes that we have today. So residential, small commercial, medium commercial, etc. The ones in red are ones that we asked our consultant to do analysis on in addition. If you look at the very bottom where it says the total in 2017, for our current year, we're forecasting a positive collection of revenue from the cost of service. If you look at 18, that margin drops where it's nearing 0. And if you look out to 2022, it's a positive number, but that means we're under. The cost of service won't be generating enough income to cover the expenses.
Well, excuse me, a negative in front means minus, means the debt. Negative means you're positive. How come you're saying the opposite?
It's the way that this was formatted. They could have formatted it the opposite, but...
Coming here should be positive.
I'm sorry?
Shouldn't it be a standard practice accounting?
It should be. I would apologize, but this was done in the opposite order. So residential in 2017, if you look, is 1.09% negative. That means we're collecting just over 1% more than we possibly could to break even for cost of service residential. And then the next year, it's a positive, meaning we're under collecting.
Well, I understand, but I just wondered why you're representing sort of backwards.
The way that the calculation was done, I apologize.
Yeah, I'm an accountant. I can tell you that in governmental accounting, to increase revenue is usually a minus. An asset is
You gotta speak into the microphone. In governmental accounting, revenue, and to increase revenue, it's usually a credit, okay? And to, an asset is usually a plus, which is a debit. So that's what that is. It's a credit. It's gonna increase the revenue.
Thank you for educating an engineer. So, I guess in summary, what I want to point out is that we're forecasting that this year will be a decent year for covering, the cost of service matching the rates. Next year, it's still okay. Once we get what's going on in 2019, 2020, we start getting to the point that we probably are going to need to look at a change. So, many things are increasing in cost: materials, fuel, insurance, regulatory. So we're anticipating a rate increase, but not now. This is showing that we're okay today, but it's coming. Now I'd really like to highlight ones that are in the red font, where you can see residential cogeneration, small commercial, and medium commercial. Another way to phrase this is the solar PV that's on folks' houses today. This is similar terminology. What this is showing is this group of customers that we have today, we are significantly under recovering from our cost of, based on cost of service model. So instead of collecting 100% of what that customer group should be contributing, in the case of residential, we're only collecting 75% of what that group should be doing in 2017. And you can see it increases in the years subsequent to that. I hope this is making sense. And I want to address this in our next topic here when we start talking about rates. So if I can, if there are any other questions, I will like to move on to the rate adjustment. With that, if I can bring your attention to slide 6, this is the second topic of the evening, and I will be making adjustments, recommendations. This particular section has two parts: the power cost recovery factor, also known as PCRF, and our reactive power support fee, which is a new item we're introducing. So if you look at slide 7, this is on our power cost recovery factor changes that we're asking for. So I just want to educate you a little bit that each utility does this kind of activity, but they tend to give them different names: fuel adjustment, PCRF, generation and transmission. But we all do this as a necessary part of our business to cover the things that fluctuate month to month. And those things are the transmission cost of service, what fuel cost is, and so forth. So monthly we true those up, and versus the established base. What I'm proposing tonight is to reallocate 5 cents of what is in the energy charge to what we call currently the power cost recovery factor, which we're recommending that we're going to rename to the generation and transmission charge. We're doing this so that we feel like a customer looking at the bill would clearly see what Phelps is using and operating on funding capital from versus what we collect and pass on with no markup, with no profit to the generation, the transmission, regulatory, those agencies. And I just want to emphasize again that this PCRF we're proposing to call it generation transmission, we make no money on it.
Is that the reason why that one fluctuates on electric bill, because your cost?
Yes, sir. For example, each time a transmission line is added in the ERCOT system anywhere in Texas, that cost gets added into the rate base that gets passed on to every utility that's participating. So, and this happens every month. So that number, is that one's going up, fuel will fluctuate wherever fuel happens to be, and they balance out. So, like I said, we make no income on that as a pass-through. we work, and my team works very hard to monitor that, along with other associations we're involved in, to make sure that those costs remain as low as they can possibly be, although they're really outside the control of the Phelps and most utilities. But I want to reemphasize that this change has zero impact to the customer classes. It's just moving a nickel from one group to the other.